Alrighty, welcome back to the Mowers Podcast. This is episode 8. It's just gonna be me today. I'll give you the explanation of that in just a minute. If you're already on here, give me a thumbs up or message in chat if the mic's okay. We're using a different mic today, so I want to see if it's working all right. But yeah, welcome into the stream. Welcome into the video if you're watching this afterwards. But yeah, it's just gonna be me, Jack, and Herm. All good. Perfect. Good to hear. Yep, the other two hosts, usually Jack and Herm, they're both on spring break. So we got Jack's at his parents' house, and then Herm is in Chicago for a short trip, and then he's going to Michigan. So they're both out of town, spending time with their friends and family. So yeah, I'll be here. I can't really complain though because it's pretty much spring break here all the time. Luckily I'm fortunate to have a pool where I live at, a gym. The sun in Arizona is just awesome, like we always say. So for me, I'm saving some money, staying here, working, and yeah, I think this week I'll be alone, and maybe we'll have another guest next week, but yeah, we'll see. So yeah, Jack's with his family. What else is spring break? Oh yeah, everyone from work is leaving, so it's putting us in a tough spot at work because it's just we're short staffed. So this yesterday was busy, today was busy, but being understaffed, it makes it really tough. So that's definitely brutal, but hopefully it means that more money for me, and the rest of the people that are still here for this week. Yeah, you can't. For me, I hopefully we'll be able to travel soon. Not taking a spring break right now, but I'm gonna stay with you for my spring break. Perfect. Sounds good. Love to hear it. I'm looking for some company, so that works. Yeah, I know. I won't be traveling now, but you save your travels for the future, and hopefully I'll get to the point where I can just travel whenever I want, wherever I want. And for me, I've been fortunate enough to be able to travel. Um, I'm sure some of you guys know I lived in Germany for a few years, so being in Europe, it just makes it a lot easier to travel to different places. Um, I would say that my favorite place that I visited. Hmm. Germany just has so many great spots to go, so Germany's definitely up there. But then I would say, other than Germany, since I technically live there, so it doesn't really count, would be Italy. I think I would have to say it's just a beautiful country. The scenery's awesome. The people are great, super relaxed. The food's amazing, and there's just so many different cool spots you can go to. Florence, you got the Leaning Tower of Pisa in Pisa. You have Venice, Milan, Rome. So just a handful of different cool spots that are really awesome to visit. And if you haven't been to Europe, I would recommend trying to book a trip there at some point in your life. Whenever you can, take that opportunity and experience it, just because it's being in America, there's a lot of cool things to see and places to go, but getting to see another culture and just other people, it just changes your perspective on life and the world, and it really broadens your horizons. So if you can do that, definitely take advantage of that. And then another funny thing is, I've thought about this before, but then right before the stream, I thought about it. I'm like, I'm gonna mention that. Um, and it's something to do with music. So I'm sure everyone listens to music and has their own preferences of what they like to listen to. Um, but the one thing that I always find interesting is, I wonder what would happen if all the knowledge you had in your head or brain of music lyrics and songs and rhythms or whatever, if you could basically use that and then switch it over to like school academic actual knowledge other than just songs. I wondered how much smarter you would be if you did that, because there's so many times where you don't hear a song for a long time, or you only hear it a few times and the rhythm's stuck in your head, or the song clicks on again, and next thing you know, you're just singing along with it and you're like, man, I haven't heard this song in 2 years, but I'm singing it. So that always stuck out to me as just something that was like, I didn't really understand why it clicks so much better. And obviously, like, yes, there's a rhythm to it and stuff like that, but yeah, we'd all be geniuses if we could replace all our song knowledge with real knowledge. Um, so I looked it up here, and uh, what's it say here? Yeah, which made me wonder. This is a quote from an article I'm reading here. It says, which made me wonder, how many songs can our brains actually remember? If I had a way to dump some of them, would I remember things that are potentially more important? Like, where are my keys? Uh, Short answer, no. It says your brain has almost an unlimited capacity for memory, which that's really impressive. That was said by Dr. Emily Mason, who studies memory and cognition. Uh, your brain can store about 2.5 petabytes of memory, uh, which a petabyte is a million gigabytes. And for anyone who doesn't know about storage and stuff like that, to put it into simpler terms, if your brain was a smartphone on which you downloaded TV shows, it could record 300 years of continuous TV before starting to run out of space. So think about if you record one show or you download one Netflix episode, and it takes up storage on your phone. Let's just say, what, 250 megabytes, maybe half a gig. Um, the amount of memory that your brain can store would be 300 years of continuous filming, which that's just ridiculous. I mean, obviously you can't actually probably access all of that. But yeah, it's just it really just makes you think about how capable and impressive the human body is. Um, and it makes me wonder what more, like, what causes our limitations, I guess. Um, because when it comes to anything, memory, strength, um, I don't know, whatever else your body does, is there ways that, like, we can push ourselves and use more of our potential? And if so, what's the max we can get to? You know what I mean? Like, you can store 2.5 petabytes of memory, but how many people, or of that you can store, how many people actually use, what, 10% of that, 50% of that, 75% of that? Like, I don't know. It's an interesting thing to think about, and maybe as we evolve, we start to take advantage of our capabilities, but then you would think that as we evolved, our body would have higher capabilities, right? Like, 200 years ago, the people that were at the top of their physical shape, or the world's strongest men, are probably not as strong as they are nowadays. And I don't know if that, maybe that has less to do with evolution and more to do with, um, or I guess less to do with evolution of the body and more to do with evolution of technology. Um, but then maybe in 200 years from now, we're going to have new technology that allows humans to get to a further point than we are now. I don't know. It's an interesting thing to think about. Um, but if I could actually access 2.5 petabytes of memory, now that'd be ridiculous. That would be ridiculous. Um, what else? What else is going on? The NFL Combine started. Um, I didn't hear too much new things from that. The thing I did see recently was, um, a few of the quarterback situation to me is a little bit strange. Uh, I think it was Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, and Drake May. I think were the three of the top few quarterbacks that weren't throwing at the combine. And then you had like Spencer Radler, um, maybe Bo Nix, Michael Penix, and JJ McCarthy. I think were the four quarterbacks at the top of the list that were throwing. And then like Caleb Williams didn't take any of his measurements. To me, that just seems a little bit weird. I get it. I think some of the arguments for some of these players is, I think what Caleb Williams said was that he had 26 games of film that coaches could go and watch and actually see him play. Yeah, I mean, I guess that makes sense, but you played 26 games, you were a top draft prospect. Um, to me, that just seems like you're kind of skimping out on it, and like I don't know, I don't know if it's taken as like he's scared to throw, like he could mess it up, but you would think that if you're about to be in the NFL, you would want to show everything that you have, and like I don't know, I feel like it's tough because you could go out there and do better or do worse, and it could change where you're at, but if you don't throw and then you get picked up by a team, I don't know. It's just an interesting thing to me about why you would. I don't know. I guess the combine's just an interesting thing to think about. Why do they have the combine? Because yeah, I guess everyone does go and play in the regular season, play in bowl games. They have film. Maybe it's good for some smaller things like your 40-yard dash, your strength in terms of bench press and whatever other metrics they do. Um, but yeah, I guess we'll see what happens. The draft is at the end of April, I want to say. Um, yeah, April 25th to April 27th. Like we mentioned before, that is in Detroit. So that should be a fun little weekend for everyone who's in Detroit. I don't think I'm gonna be able to make it out for the draft, but that would be a cool thing to see, and hopefully it helps the city out. I think Detroit's an underrated city. I think it's gotten a bad rep for some of the past few years, and what was that? What was that one mayor's name? Kwame Kilpatrick or something like that. I don't know. Mayor of Detroit. Nope, not Mike Duggan. Who was before that? What's his name? What was that old guy's name? Not old guy, but Kwame Kilpatrick from 2002 to 2008. Yeah, I mean, I was young at that point, but I remember hearing some things about he was not the best in as the mayor of Detroit, and he did a lot of things that shouldn't have been done. But yeah, Detroit's gotten a bad rep, and it's I think to the outsiders it's viewed as really dangerous, which to me is kind of funny. Because you go and walk around, and if you're from Michigan, Detroit's an awesome city. If you're not from Michigan, I would recommend going to visit it. It's a pretty cool place. A lot of things to do, restaurants, and then Christmas they have the campus marches with the ice skating rink. I'm sure it's pretty similar to a lot of other big cities, but being from Michigan, it's a special place. So uh, hopefully the draft will help that out, and then the sports teams are looking like they're on the come up, kind of all around. So hopefully the city of Detroit gets some life back in it over these next few years, and it already has started to pick up. But yeah, I mean, I think spring break. We talked about some music and getting some knowledge. I have some questions that I was recently just looking at, just some thinkers, nothing crazy, but with the just being me today, figured why not pull some up. So Yeah, unless anyone in chat has an idea of what they want to see or a question for me, I'm probably just gonna fire through some of these deeper thinking questions and just talk about them. Nothing crazy for today's episode. I'm on the computer camera because we're having some camera issues, as you guys have probably seen the past few weeks. The camera that I have right now is something's wrong with like the batteries, and it's not meant for streaming. So after too long, it gets overheated and then turns off. So that's usually the issue that you guys see with us. But hopefully this week, obviously, we won't have to deal with that because I'm on my computer camera. Um, but yeah, the first question I saw, I just searched up questions to get you thinking. The first one I saw is, how long is your now? It's a good question. Um, I don't know. I think for me, I move in like, I live in like stages almost, and I guess now would be one of the stages. Um, I think anyone else who is listening who's in college probably, or has, if you're older, you've probably went through the same thing. I think it's weird growing up in terms of how quickly everything changes. Um, I feel like the cutoff point between you have no worries and I mean, I guess it's different for everyone, but I feel like the turning point from, all right, you're a kid to you're an adult is so quick. And yes, you turn 18 and technically you're an adult, and but I feel like it doesn't really hit you when you turn 18, just because of the fact that for me, age is always just it's just a number. Like, um, it's really no different than time in terms of you're just using it to track something. Um, but yeah, you turn 18, most people graduate around that time, college starts afterwards. And I think it's really when you get into college is when that flip switches because um, usually you're on your own. Um, and then depending on your situation, and some people may start earlier, some people may start later. Financially, you're gonna have to usually step up and start taking care of yourself. You got to start cooking. You got to start. And freshman year is a little bit weird just because of usually you're in a dorm. You have a roommate. Most of the time you're on a meal plan of some sort, and that way you usually don't have to cook. Um, so maybe that's where it becomes so tricky is most people think when they turn 18 or they're like, oh, I'm an adult. They go to college and they're like, oh, I'm an adult and now I'm on my own. But I think it really hits when I don't know if it's when you have to have more financial stresses is when it hits. If like I guess for me right now, I'm almost completely on my own in terms of I do my own shopping. I do pay for almost all my bills. I do my own cooking. I do my own cleaning. Um, and it's just weird because internally I feel like I still should have my youth. And I guess I still do. I don't know. It's just weird, like almost internal battle in terms of like all right, you got to step up. You got to start taking care of yourself, doing these things to prepare yourself for the future, for your job, for the rest of your life. But there's also parts of me that want to like stay back and um, still be like a kid, not have to worry about things. Um, so I don't know. It's just an interesting thing. So I guess my now kind of just changed up that whole thing. I guess my now would be my immediate now would probably be from now until April 22nd, and that's when I go to my summer job that I have lined up. Thank you. Yeah, I got to represent. Go green. Got got to support the parents' school and my friend's school. Always representing it, even if I don't go there. But yeah, like I was saying, I think my now is probably until I go to my summer job, because this is the last month and a half that I'll really be working at my job I'm at right now. Um, a few other business things, and then once my summer hits, it kind of is a complete switch. Um, I think that question is always changing depending on where you're at in life. Yeah, I agree. That's a good way to put it. Um, I would say my now is probably, like I said, until April, until I leave. But then, like, a longer term now would be probably the time that I'm in Arizona. And as of now, I'll be here until July of 2025, and then who knows after that. I could be gone. I could be here still. So yeah, that was the first one. To what degree do I actually control the course of my life? Now this is interesting. Um, I think you have control 100% over your own life. But I think there's a few caveats to that, in terms of, yes, you have control over your own life, but a lot of things that happen and like choices you make are influenced by the people that influence you. Starting with, first would be your parents. So I guess for the first few years, you don't really have control over your life, because it's all, I mean, when you're too young, it doesn't matter. And then your parents help you out and kind of guide you along the way. And maybe they'll make some decisions for you at that point. Um, to what degree do I actually control the course of my life? And then it starts to get to a point where you do start making your own decisions. Um, but a lot of the decisions you make are still going to be based off of things that you have learned, habits you've created, and usually those are I feel like from other people. So I think you do have 100% control over your life. It's just most people don't take advantage of that. Um, like for example, jobs, or yeah, jobs, school, people, like networking is a big example. Some people don't have access to meet certain people that they need to further their job. So, do they have control over the situation that they're in? I guess not. But also, if you really, really wanted to, you would think that you'd be able to make something happen no matter the situation. So I would say you do have control over your life. There's just a few small nuances that alter it, I guess would be the best way to put it. Um, if I could talk to my teenage self, what is one thing I would say? This is a good question, in terms of being a 20-year-old. Even looking back, I saw a TikTok the other day that was, I don't know if anyone has watched Stranger Things, but in July of this year, the first season of Stranger Things is going to be 8 years old. And that blew my mind, because you don't think about things like that until they really just pop up in front of you, and you think, wow, that was 8 years ago. And 8 years ago was, like I said, 2016. That was right when I moved to Germany. And so in that time, I just feel like so much has changed. Um, it's crazy to think that you just go day by day, and then when you actually get to reflect, you get to see how quickly things are moving. Um, but 8 years ago I was 12, so I wasn't even a teenager when Stranger Things started. Um, so that's why like this question gets a little bit funny because for me, things I was doing 8 years ago, I wasn't even a teenager at this point, and that was, I mean, Stranger Things is still something that, um, yeah, my brother was 8 years ago, so I mean now he's driving. Like that's just a crazy concept to think about. And when you're younger, I guess it's more weird because it's a larger quantity of your life. I don't know if that changes as you get older. Maybe the time spans just extend in terms of you 20 years from now, we're going to say, oh, yeah, Stranger Things came out 28 years ago. And that's, I think, when it's going to hit. But one thing I would say to my teenage self would be probably to, I guess, forget about the people around you. Um, in terms of your teenage years are such a big growing time and influential in terms of your childhood because it's really the time where you are starting to grow up, mature a little bit. Uh, and your teenage years are weird because you feel so much older than you actually are. Um, like when you go from fifth grade, which obviously you're not a teenager, but you just think you're the man in fifth grade. Then you get to sixth grade and it resets. Then you get to eighth grade and you're the man in the eighth grade campus. Then you get to high school and it resets. Then you get to senior year of high school and you're just the man on campus. Then you get to college and it's completely different. There's no, oh, this person, everyone knows this person. Unless you're the starting quarterback for the football team, that's really when it switches in terms of you are just with you and your friends. And so the weird thing with teenage years is most of the time you know pretty much everyone in your high school. And then I think it creates this weird what's the best word for it? This weird can't think of it. Uh this weird like social image, social leveling almost because when you're in ninth grade, you know who the cool seniors are, and usually you look up to them, and or you don't want to be judged by them, so you kind of fit into the path of what everyone else is doing. Yeah, it's like the dynamic, the social dynamic, I guess is a good way to put it. Um, and you just worry so much about what other people think, and now that I look back on it, you really question it because now I'm to the point where I do stupid things all the time in public, or I'm at work and I'm dancing, and yeah, don't worry about impressing the people around you. Just be you. Exactly. Yeah, that's pretty much the best way to put it. And hopefully, most people get to the point where they realize it. I just wish that I realized it earlier. I think I would have taken advantage of some of the opportunities I had. Um, I think I don't know if it would have changed any of my friendships or the people that I am friends with now. Um, but there's no reason to worry about what other people think or say or do because the other thing that most high schoolers don't really get to see is they think that this is their entire world, is their little high school, their friends, whatever. You graduate and you don't even think about 95% of the people you went to high school with. Um, but you don't realize it at the time. And so I think that's, I guess, a good way to put it is once you get to start to move around and leave, um, yeah, it's a tough thing. It really is. But I wish I could have realized it earlier. And I think there's still times now where I don't do things because I'm worried about what other people think. But most of the time now, I'm just trying to live and have fun, and I don't care if I really get made fun of because usually it makes me happy, whether it's dancing or singing, or I'll tell jokes and I'm the only one that ends up laughing because my jokes usually aren't that funny, but I find them hilarious. And so I'll say things, and sometimes I won't get a laugh, other times I'll get a small chuckle or a, come on, Owen, that was stupid. And I'm just dying. And so that's what I've learned now is I can do what I want, not have to worry about others, and that's what ultimately ends up making me more happy than trying to sit there and follow a crowd of what everyone else is doing. So, uh, yeah, that's probably what I would tell my teenage self is just don't worry about the people around you. And if you are younger and you let's hear a joke. Hmm. Hmm. I can't think of a knock knock joke or a real joke, but I'll explain one funny thing that happened today at work. So, working in the restaurant industry, meals get messed up, things get ordered that are incorrect, and so you have food that they say it goes dead. It's just food that sits in the window and it's extra, and usually they try not to throw it out just because it's a waste. Sometimes they'll give it to employees or whatever, and at the end of the day, there I don't remember what it was. It might have been I don't know, something small was sitting in the window, and I went and sat at a table where some of the other employees were nearby, and I was like, "Oh, is that extra thing going to table 34?" And I started laughing, and they all were so confused, and I basically made the joke because I was sitting at table 34, jokingly saying, "Oh, that's going to me." Um, so then I had to explain it. I was laughing. No one else understood it. Um, but it made me chuckle a little bit. It brought a little bit of joy to the end of my work shift. So it's just small, stupid things like that that really just don't matter. But uh, yeah, once you start to realize that even if they don't matter, but they make you happy, that's really, I guess, what ultimately does matter. Um, so yeah, that was my funny joke. Now the next question is one that I wrote down right before this. Um, because it's not something I've really thought about or talked about, but it's something that you hear all the time. Oh, thank you, Austin. I bet you love that. Oh, Maury loved it. Thank you, guys. See, it was a good joke. Or you're just sarcastic and I can't tell because it's text, but I'll take it as it was serious. No, the question that I wrote down is, what is the definition of famous? Not, I don't know. I was thinking about it because it's weird. Like, obviously, you have your one time people who have one video that blows up. You also have your people that have been in the spotlight for years and years and years. So, what defines someone as famous? Is it the quantity of people that know you? Is it if it is the quantity of people that know you, what qualifies as someone who knows you? Because there's people that I've heard of that are famous. I don't know anything about them. I don't know. I've just heard their name brought up in conversation. So it was just a thing to think about. Where's that cutoff point between, oh, you're not famous and you are famous? Not saying that like famous is like a good term because sometimes it's not. Um, but nowadays there's so much talk about fame, and I think it has to do a lot with social media, because you can constantly see people, whereas before, not every day were you seeing posts about Michael Jackson because you couldn't open your phone and search up Michael Jackson. You couldn't open your phone and scroll through um, TikTok and see a clip from Michael Jackson's um, concert the night he had or the night before. Um, Hearts from Landon. Thank you, Landon. Um, so yeah, that was just an interesting thing that I was thinking about is what is the definition of famous? Um, I don't even know if I like. Is famous count when you get noticed on the street? Like, is that a good way to put it? Is the first time you get noticed in public? But there's people that aren't too famous or aren't too known that get noticed. I don't know. Let's look up the definition and see what it. Famous is known by many people. So I guess when you look at the dictionary definition, it just has to do with the quantity of people that know you. But again, I think it's weird because with social media, you can post something and 10 million people can see it, and then your next video you post, no one sees it. So is that person famous because 10,000 or 10 million people have seen them before? Or does that mean that they had one video that blew up and they're not famous? If that's the case, how many videos until you are famous? I don't know. Interesting. Very interesting. Um, maybe you have to have your account on famous birthdays. And then are you famous? I don't know. Today's famous birthdays are also, what do you want to be famous for? No, I personally, I think that fame is an overrated thing in terms of you can be successful. You can be equally successful not being famous, but I feel like it's a lot easier to be happier if you're not famous. And that could just be a me thing because I'm not one for attention, the spotlight. Um, I'd rather just do my thing, uh, and not have to be in the limelight in front of everyone else. So I personally don't want to be famous. I'd love to be successful. I don't really want to be famous. But I was just thinking about it because everyone knows the word famous and oh, this person's famous and oh, this person. But I just wasn't sure what the cutoff point is for that. Like I don't know. I just thought it was an interesting thing to think about. So no, I don't want to be famous. Preferably not. Unless this Mowers Podcast thing blows up. But even for that, I'm just doing this for the enjoyment of things that I love to do, which is video work, and then making people laugh, um, or myself laugh, whatever it may be. Um, but yeah, we'll yeah, I don't know. Um, what are some other questions? Anyone in chat got some other questions to run off? When did I last push my boundary of my comfort zone? It's a good question. When did I push the boundary of my comfort zone? I think that's an interesting question because I feel like you're always pushing your boundary zone. I mean, it's very hard to do things like I guess you have to really define what your comfort zone is because like for example, some people they might push their boundaries of their comfort zone to go talk to strangers or random people, but when you work in the restaurant industry, you have to go and talk to other people. So like for me, yes, technically going to work and talking to strangers could be it, but I'm just used to doing that all the time. Um, I guess I just got to do more things because I think I just get into a routine of doing the same three things every day, which is work and some video games and some homework. And when did I last push my comfort zone? One funny thing, I don't even know, I still don't know about this one, but this definitely was a little push of my comfort zone, not too big, but it's something. We went to the ASU versus U of A basketball game, and then afterwards, on Wednesday nights, one of the restaurants down the street has these like Spitz, they're called Spitz Bowls because the restaurant's called Spitz. But it's probably really, really unhealthy, but it is really good. It's French fries with mac and cheese, choice of your meat, and then some type of sauce on top. So you can get like chicken, gyro, maybe beef, and then like maybe there's a vegan option. But I usually just get the gyro one because that's usually what I enjoy. Um, but on Wednesdays they're buy one get one. So after the game, me and Jack and Herm decided to go to Spitz to get some food. So sometimes me and Jack will share an order and we'll just get the buy one get one, and then I'll take one, he'll take one, then it's half off pretty much. But this time we decided to all get our own. So I got two, Jack got two, Herm got two. So we got six bowls for the price of three. And as we're sitting there, they're calling out names for people. Joseph, Joseph, no Joseph. Keep calling out names, keep calling out names, keep calling out names. Joseph was probably called for 20 minutes at this point. His name probably got called 15 times. And so as I went up there to grab my food, I was like, how long until Joseph's food is up for grabs? And she was like, oh, she chuckled a little bit, and then she was like, oh, I don't know what to see. And then they called his name one more time, and I turned around, and the guy that's been calling names the entire time was like, oh, are you Joseph? And I was like, yeah. And so then I took the order, and then he didn't say anything, so I walked out. So we ended up paying for three bowls, and we ended up getting eight, which is a great deal. But it was just a little bit funny for me to like ask about it, and I kind of said it jokingly, but also serious. And then I ended up getting it. So can't hurt to ask. That's one of the things with my summer job. I'm doing door-to-door sales. So the one thing that they tell you to do is get as many no's as you can, because you're gonna get no's when you're knocking doors. So when you go out to restaurants or fast food places, ask for the employee discount. Yeah, it might not be an employee, but it can't hurt to ask. What's the worst they're gonna say? No. Um, Shout out Donor Dudes. Hey Herm. Hopefully your flight was good, and then you're having a great trip in Chicago. Uh, but yeah, shout out Donor Dudes. That's a great spot. Um, Two questions. My sister said, if you had to fight the number of people of the age you are, for example, if you're for example, two 2-year-olds, three 3-year-olds, how many do you think you could realistically fight? Fit a number of the age they are. How old am I? Am I my current age? So is it like me as an 18-year-old? How many people could I defend against? All right, I think the better way to think about it is at what age does it really become an issue? And who are the people? Because there's some 12-year-olds I would have no issues with. There are also some 12-year-olds that if there were 12 of them in front of me, I wouldn't be able to do anything. Yes, I am 20. I am 20. So if I'm going to be a 20-year-old, average people. Okay. 8-year-olds I think is a good spot. I do think 8-year-olds is a good spot. Are they I'm guessing they would have to be all male. It wouldn't be fair if it was a male versus a female fight, because that would also change my answer. But I'm going to assume we have average males, whatever age. Oh man. I think 11's pushing it. I think I could get 88-year-olds are fierce. Yes, they are. But how many 8-year-olds you think 8-year-olds what are they gonna do? I feel like it would get to the point where like one of them comes at you, boom, gone, boom, gone, boom, gone. You know what I mean? I think 8-year-olds would take one hit and then they'd be down. That's why I think I could get over 8. I think I would say somewhere between 9 and 10. 9 9-year-olds or 10 10-year-olds. I think I could probably get done. Then Landon wants to know my opinion on Kansas City winning their 4th Super Bowl. You know, for me, I've always enjoyed playing sports. Watching them, I don't find as enjoyable. I think that's just a me thing because I have plenty of friends who play football. They play Madden. They love watching football. They love watching film. So there's some of my friends who just can't get enough of football. I've never been that way. Usually it's like, all right, I'm playing football. I got my practice. I got my games. Never really enjoyed watching it just because I probably just have ADHD and can't sit still for long enough, and that's probably what it comes down to. Um, but Kansas City winning their 4th Super Bowl, I would say, I guess it makes sense when you're led by Patrick Mahomes. They gave him a crazy, crazy contract. I guess it was crazy. Now it's not as big compared to some of the other ones. Um, but yeah, when you're led by Patrick Mahomes and then you have Andy Reid as the head coach, something about that duo, and then you throw Travis Kelce in there. I don't know what it is, but they can just always get it done. And you watch them through the regular season, and sometimes you're like, oh, this team is no shot of winning the Super Bowl. Um, and then they just prove you wrong. So I think it was a well deserved Super Bowl for them. Uh, they had some ups and downs throughout the year, but I mean, they obviously put it together when it mattered. Um, I would have loved to see Detroit in there. That's really the one downside to this year's Super Bowl. Is I was really hoping to see Detroit get to the Super Bowl and Taylor Swift. Yeah, yeah. I don't know if that's my big thing with that is I don't know if that's a publicity stunt or that's like an actual thing. I guess we'll see in the next few years. But the amount of I mean, Taylor Swift is doing crazy numbers in sales and concerts. Um, and the NFL has only been getting more and more popular. It's got a lot of viewers. So it's a good combination for the two of them. And then especially for them to be winning the Super Bowl, it's got to be scripted. It's got to be scripted. Landon is obsessed with Kansas City. Well, maybe next year, Landon, we will get to see a Detroit Lions versus Kansas City Super Bowl, and then we'll get to have a nice little watch party for that. Hopefully, I'll be able to see you guys for the Super Bowl next year. That'd be awesome. Um, but yeah, I got a question for you, Landon. Why are you such a fan of Kansas City? Are you a bandwagon? You hopping on because they're good? I'm curious because you gotta. What happened with Detroit? Why aren't you a Detroit guy? Come on, Landon. You gotta support the hometown. Is Kansas City signing Chris Jones or Sneed? I don't know. I saw some rumors that Sneed could be traded to Detroit. And that would be wonderful for the city of Detroit. Not good for you, Landon, and the Chiefs because Sneed's a good DB. Um, but yeah, let me go and see. We're hoping a curveball and L'Jarius Sneed. All right, 19 hours ago, these are potential trade landing spots for L'Jarius Sneed. Staying with Kansas City, that's an option. The Rams, the Lions. Um, I mean, Rams, I would say doesn't make sense for him. Vikings, no. Packers, probably not. I think for someone like Snead, you either stay with Kansas City or you go to awesome. That's cool. Oh, yeah, Patrick Mahomes is a great quarterback. There's nothing else you can say really, and he just keeps proving it. That's what I've said. When he first started, I was not a fan because I was like, oh, they're paying this guy crazy money and everyone's bandwagoning him and uh, but when you keep doing what he's doing, I agree with you. You really you have to like him just because of the things that he's done and he always gets it done. So I that's a good take, Landon. I like that. But yeah, but I think Snead is probably gonna end up. My guess would be Kansas City. I don't know why they would get rid of Chris Jones. You would think that they're gonna keep him. Detroit is gonna draft Kool-Aid McKinstry. I think that's an awesome name. First of all, Kool-Aid Kool-Aid McKinstry. That's just sweet. I'm gonna name my kid Kool-Aid. Kool-Aid Sam. Maybe not. Um, Kool-Aid McKinstry. He was was he a DB? Yeah, from Alabama. Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. I guess we'll have to see. I don't know too much about everything that's going on in the football world. Like I said, I don't really. I'm more thrown into it now because all my roommates, or my roommate Jack, and then Herm and his roommates are they're all just some football fanatics. They know every coach and player, and it just blows my mind about the things that they know. I don't know how they have the time to find that information and where they keep it stored in their 2.5 pentagigabytes of storage in their head, but they got it somewhere locked in there, and I just can't access that storage drawer, I guess is the best way to put it. Um, yeah, I don't know. I do not know. Is Detroit in the AFC? That's a good question. I think someone asked that before, and it's a valid question. It's a really valid question. Everyone in chat, give me a uh, put if you could time travel. Either put the decade you would go to, or just say whether you go forward or backward. I think this is an interesting thing, um, just because there's so much potential with it, and there's so many different reasons for why someone would do that. As I'm waiting for you guys to send those in, I'll probably say that for me, I would go back to somewhere. I don't know. There's two ways for me to take this. I would either go back to like the somewhere in like the probably 40s or 50s, um, only because I think whenever you think of like classic America, at least for me, I think of like those old videos you see of Detroit where you got all the Ford cars driving around, you got tram cars, you got people walking around, um, you got your checkered patterns at your diners, things like that. Like it just seems like I guess that probably is just a too idealistic. I don't even know if that's the word for it, but I don't know if that's too of a like perfect situation thinking. Because I'm sure if you went back, there'd be the same problems or similar problems that we have now. But I would say the 50s because I love their music, love the cars, um, and then otherwise 50s, or I would go back to the peak of the Greek something Greek in the Roaring Twenties. No, I probably wouldn't go back to the Roaring Twenties. I don't think that taking a time traveling thing to the Great Depression. That's when the Great Depression was, right? When was the Great Depression? 29 to 41. I guess you could go back to the Roaring Twenties. Or was the Roaring Twenties the come up before the crash? That's probably what that is. I'm just because that was like yesterday at work. Two guys came in with cameras. I was like, "Oh, what are you guys doing?" They were like, "Oh, we're doing some YouTube. Are you smarter than a fifth grader?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm definitely smarter than a fifth grader." The Roaring Twenties. Okay, that makes sense. You could go back to the Roaring Twenties right after World War One. That makes sense. The Gatsby. Okay. Yeah, that would be a good time to go. I just like the 50s because of the cars and the music and stuff like that. Egypt to see how the pyramids were built. I agree. Um, that would be sweet. That would be really cool. That just blows my mind the fact that we can't even comprehend how they did it. Did they hide the technology they used to build it? Now that I think about it, like, I don't know. That's interesting. I want to go back to when Henry William Harrison was the president. So he became president, and you think aliens built the pyramids? That's not a bad take. You would think that they would build something a little bit. I was gonna say a little bit cooler, but I mean, if the pyramids have lasted as long as they say they have, that's pretty cool. Um, what if the pyramids were like a cover up for what's that book or movie called? The City of Ember, I think is what it is. Um, yeah, there's a book about this, and I think a movie too. And if you haven't read these, I think it's an easier read because I remember reading it in maybe middle school. You hate that book. All right, I apologize, but the concept of it is really interesting. Maybe like you fall through a crack in the pyramids and you just go to the City of Ember. It's really easy. I really like it. I agree. No, don't listen to Garrett. Do not read it. Read it. It is a good book. It's a really easy read, or just watch the movie if you can't be asked to read like me. Um, but that would be interesting. Maybe the pyramids are a cover up for that. Um, all right, what else we got? So someone said probably forward, but not too far within our lifespan. I like that take. That's a good way to look at it forward because I feel like there's so much that's going to change before most of us are off this earth. Um, but I feel like most of it we just can't even comprehend because it's going to be things that, as technology progresses in 20 years from now, there's things that we don't even think about that are going to be in everyone's house at that point. So that's a good take. I would like to see where civilization is at the end of our life here on Earth. Someone's like I said, Henry William Harrison was the president, died 60 days after. So he became president and died quickly after. Why would you? Do you want to go back to this time to experience that? Interesting. All right, I'm not gonna judge. I like it. Uh, I had to compare the book and the movie. The movie sucks. Yeah, I do. I do remember thinking that. I can't remember reading it. All I have is the visual pictures in my head of the movie, of a few scenes. But yeah, I think you're right with the fact that the book is better than the movie. It's a short read, I'm pretty sure. So, um, yeah, came out in 2008. That doesn't even seem like that long ago for a book. I feel like books are old. That's a stupid thing to say. Books come out all the time, don't they? I don't know. I do not know. Ooh, I have another question. For people in the chat, if you could not wear an accessory of clothing for the rest of your life, what would it be? So it could be a hat, a belt, a watch. Oh, that's a good one. You don't like watches? Jeans. That's interesting. Jeans. You don't like jeans? I feel like jeans are a very versatile and useful thing because you can wear them a little bit nicer. You can wear them to church, or you can dress them down and wear them to work and go roof some houses if you want, whatever you want. Socks. You would forfeit wearing socks for the rest of your life. What about when you wear tennis shoes or go to the gym or like don't you want don't you want to not have stinky shoes every time you take them off? You can't be going without socks. I feel like socks unless you're going like Herm and just rocking flip flops for the rest of life. Wristbands, a winter coat, bare feet, can't stand socks. All right, fair. It's a fair take. Watches are uncomfortable and kind of useless. I could see that. I think a lot of people, I mean, I think classic watches are probably a lot more useless. Apple watches, some people are like, oh, you can't do it. It's useless. You can just pull out your phone. Technically, you could get an Apple Watch and not even carry your phone with you and pretty much do the exact same thing. I think that watches are pretty useful. Um, because also when you do get into some situations, it's worse to pull out your phone because of let's just say you're in a professional setting in a meeting or whatever, and it's a lot easier to do this and check your watch than it is to pull your phone out and open it, and then there's also distractions. And but watch isn't a bad one. A winter coat makes sense. Can't really be doing that in Michigan. That would be brutal. That would be absolutely brutal. Um, I would say for me, like you gotta obviously a bow tie. You don't like bow ties? Come on. At least you look like what's that one guy? Pee Wee, Pee Wee Herman. I would say what would I never wear again? I don't even know. Probably a raincoat. A raincoat because you're gonna get wet anyways. I think a raincoat is like a scam. It's like, all right, we're gonna sell you this for a little bit more money because you're not gonna get wet. That's a lie for the most part. I don't know. I just don't think a raincoat is like that important because some people are like, oh, it's raining. Does an umbrella count then? Because you don't wear it. It's not an article of clothing, but it does the same thing as a raincoat. Probably better though. Yeah, I would say I would never wear a raincoat ever again. I would never wear. I could do without, unless you lived in Scotland. Yeah, unless you lived in a rainy spot. But I hope to never live in a rainy spot like that. Um, Um, aha. See, Austin? I can look at this. Look at how oh 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 there we go. Oh, all right. See this? Look at that. I can see the moon phase. I can see the time in Germany. I can see my time. I can see how far until the sunset. That's what this thing is. I don't even know what this one is. I can see the weather. Look at that. 75%. Oh, I can see the time the sun sets and how long until it is. And I can see my fitness being tracked. It's pretty, and that's before I even open my watch. So I'm keeping watch. I'm keeping that. Um, yeah, I mean, there was one thing I was thinking about mentioning. Um, what was it? Was it a TikTok I was gonna share? Let's see. Oh, that's what it was. I can't. Speaking of, or think, I don't know what I'm talking about. There's a new TikTok song trend thing, by this artist called Yeet, Yeat, and he has a song called Breathe, and it's all over TikTok. And I'm walking around the restaurant and I'm just singing it in my head. I mean, this is the song. So yeah, I don't know. I keep hearing that on TikTok, and now I just walk around the restaurant and in my head, boom, boom, now breathe, and that's like the TikTok dances. They like waddle a little bit and then they go, and then and it's just stuck in my head. Yeah, I don't know. It's funny. It was hilarious. Ow. All right. Any other things to say for this week? Oh, I don't think we're gonna do a weekly stream this week, or a stream during the week for any video games or anything, because like I said, Jack and Herm are out of town. So I don't think that I'm just gonna do it by myself. So this week that will probably not be happening. But then maybe next week. Yeah, for sure next week we'll get back onto that. Um, and then if you guys want to see anything else, make sure to comment it down below, or reach out to us on Instagram or TikTok or something like that, and just send us a message of what you want to see, and we'll get working on it. Um, I think it'd be awesome to do some sort of cooking thing, like I mentioned last week. Um, or if you want to see us do some more like almost like a YouTube video of some sort. Uh, Maybe we go golfing and we record it, or we go to Top Golf and we record it, and then kind of post it as like a short little video afterwards. Um, just some other things to give you guys more content, really, um, so that you get to see some other things from us other than just these weekly streams. Maybe we'll start posting some funny dances on TikTok with all of us mowers. Maybe we'll post that breathe audio at some point. Maybe that'd be hilarious. Um, yeah, but other than that, I just want to say thank you guys for tuning into this week's episode. I think this is where we are going to wrap up. We are watching a couple called Team Ball Mart. They do some funny videos. You should do some funny stuff like that. All right, I'll actually write this down right now so I see them and can go look it up. Oh, I see them. Team Ball Mart. Okay. Oh yeah, no, those look like super cool videos. Yeah, I'll definitely check some of these out, and maybe we can do some funny things like this. Um, but yeah, we'll work on getting some other content out so that there's more things for you guys to watch. No, I tried clipping your dance and there was an error. Oh, well, you can. It'll be on the video afterwards, so you can go find it and clip it and Landon wants you to do a drink challenge. Ooh, that's actually a really good idea. Maybe we'll do Landon, let me know what you think or if you have any other ideas, but maybe we'll do one of the ones where you get a bunch of different ones and you poke the straw through the cardboard box and then you got to guess them. That wouldn't be bad. Or the other funny one I know, I don't know if Jack and Herm would be down for this. Hide the drinks and you have to test them. Some could be bad, some could be good, some could be bad, but you have to try them all. That's not a bad idea. Or the other funny thing I've seen is you blindfold someone and then the other people hold up an item in front of the camera and then the person says yes or no, and if they say yes, you have to put it in the blender. If they say no, you don't. And then you, let's just say you do 7 items and they have to pick 3 of them or 4 of them. Then you make basically like a smoothie with those items that they said yes to. And then they have to try it. So they have no idea what's in it. It could be, they could have said yes to 4 great things and they have a great smoothie, but they could have also said yes to raw eggs, hot sauce, ice cream, and bell peppers, and then you got to drink that, which would be pretty awful, but I think it'd be hilarious to watch. So yeah, that's a really good idea. I'll add that to the list, and then we can get working on that. But yeah, thank you guys. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share this to any of your friends. Or if you make any funny content that's related to us, tag us, share things with us. Just love to be engaged with you guys and make this a ride for all of us to enjoy and not just something for us. So yeah, thank you guys and have a great rest of your day, and thank you for riding with the Mowers. Peace out, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye.